What's going on, internet world? Yeah, we breaking down the different types of females and different types of males, right? It plays both sides, right? Well, we're gonna start with the different types of females because this is what I came upon once. I lived the life a little bit. Dated around a little bit. I was pretty much able to see both sides of the spectrum, right? Because me, I'm not your average black guy, right? I'm not your average uh, chosen one, right? I didn't grow up, in the low poverty, neighborhoods and things like that. I saw two sides of the spectrum. I saw the wealthy side and I saw the poor side, right? So there was no judgmental. There's nothing judgmental about my life and where I came from, right? So at first, I was dating around, different females, different females, right? And come to find out there are different types of females, right? Didn't know I thought a female was a female, right? I thought, a lady was a lady, but, a lady is not a lady. They are ladies out there that are, you have, I would say, the hood side, right? Or the low poverty mindset, right? Let's call it that. Let's call it the low poverty mindset and the high mindset, right? So there's the low poverty mindset, which, they can't get out of the low income, right? Or the low mindset to actually elevate, right? And these are different type of females, right? Prime example, a female that I dated, beautiful on the outside, looked like a awesome queen, right? But come to find out, she had the low poverty mindset and always wanted to argue, always wanted to make scenes inside, inside local places when, that's not the type of, forte that I like, right? I like a woman that acts like a woman, right? A lady that acts like a lady, right? And those are going to be the high mindset ladies, right? That actually, I wouldn't say that, and I wouldn't say that a low poverty mindset can elevate to a high mindset, right? But it takes a lot of, reconstructing of that mind. It takes a lot of generating of that mind, right? Now you can go and date a lady that has that low poverty mindset and try to change her, right? But that person is going to have to change when he or she wants to change, right? Because your mindset is something that you grew up with, right? You grew up around your environment, right? I always say there's things that always will affect your daily life, right? How you grew up, how people treat you, and your ethics, morals, and values, right? And if you're not really taught any ethics, morals, and values, right, then on the other aspect, you could be you could not even elevate, right? There's another story, right? I have a partner that was married to this lady for some years, right? Thinking that he could change her mindset and show her a different part of life where in the end of the at the end of the day, what really happened was is she stayed in that mindset and still in that mindset today, and they didn't actually work out, right? Started a family, everything, had the wife, husband, the kids, growing up in the same house, certain things that he wanted in his life that he didn't want his kids to witness because he grew up that way, right? Which that's totally fine. See, his mindset changed from the hood mindset or the low poverty mindset to high caliber mindsets, right? So you want to make sure that you're operating in a high caliber mindset, right? And if you're not operating in a high caliber mindset, or your friends don't operate in a high caliber mindset, you definitely need to break away from those friends because they're just going to keep you in that low poverty mindset and you're not going to be able to elevate. They're going to keep pulling you down. You ever heard of the phrase don't watch the company you keep, right? Or the phrase saying, oh, if there's four wealthy people and you're hanging out with four wealthy people, you're going to be guaranteed it just by design, just by being in that environment, the next wealthy person, right? So that's the same mindset that you have to go when you're picking your friends, right? I would say friends, I would say associates, people that you hang out on a day-to-day basis, right? But and that actual phrase goes for guilty. You ever heard that one, guilty by association? Right? You can be guilty by associating yourself with those type of people that go out there and do crimes and things of that nature, right? The same difference. You're going to end up doing what they're doing because you see what they're doing, right? And the same thing happens with all that. But I'm on the next video. I'm gonna break down, how people grow up can affect how you grow up can affect your day to day life, right? Or how your parents grew up and continue to, continue the actual curse, I would say, to have you grow up that way, right? You always want to look at elevating your life and elevating your kids' life, right? Because your kids are supposed to live better than you lived, right? And that is key. It's key that you keep that mindset and keep that strategy in place as well, right? And I was going to also say that the it can also work on the other hand. If you have four poor people, right, and you're hanging out with four poor people, you're gonna be the next poor person, right? Because you're just associating yourself with those poor people, right? Or poor mindset, always not wanting to put in no work, right? You have to always put in work, right? Because once you put in work, right, God will do the rest, right? Once you put in work, the Most High God will you will definitely reap the benefits of your labor, right? Because one thing God gave us was work, right? So a man who does not work, he does not eat, right? So that being said, the Resilient Banker over and out. Peace.